Hello, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Wisdom Well podcast.
Come on.
My name is LJ, and I'm with the one and only
Larry. That's my best friend, bro.
Man, I was about to say something crazy, but
now you be yourself, bro. You be yourself.
I was gonna say the living legend.
Oh, y'all, I owe him like $50. I fully intend on paying him that $50 once we get out of here. I thank you so much, brother. I'm honored to sit here with you, and I'm honored to do this. I mean, this is just it's a blessing. Having these conversations has blessed my life.
Yo, we had a previous topic that we talked about.
We started a little segment that's going on right now, which I'm excited about.
We really wanted to get into it, having faith in the music or entertainment industry and business.
It's a big deal.
And we wanted to get into, from you guys' perspective as well, like honoring yourself. And one of the topics that we talked about, which is also a little bit crazy, is payment.
Woo! Okay. This is
the
sticky one.
How do you, ask for money? And you had a quote, bro, that I don't know. Listen, we might have to cut as soon as you say your quote. We're gonna have to cut this, because I'm gonna just go crazy. Share that quote again, bro.
Okay, so
it was so good.
I always have disclaimer after disclaimer after disclaimer, right? So I do want to make sure and state a disclaimer that it's always case by case, and first of all, it is an honor to be compensated to be able to do this and to actually supply for my family and for supply for our families within the faith space. I'm just honored and grateful, and shout out to the churches who value and who also have the heart to bless their musicians and their staffs, and there are so many decisions that have to be made. So praise God for you, and I pray and continue to pray and bless those that are making their way to such. Because not everybody can just throw that down. I mean, there are levels to this thing, right?
Yeah.
And as long as a place is loving and wanting to love on you and make sure and have vision for you, not just your gift, but vision for you growing as a person, then that is a space of health, So let's be grateful for those first spaces first. What we were talking about is in past seasons, there have been times where we needed to compensate artists, and I think that it was important that we needed the perspective, because I think we said even in the last spaces that perspective is key.
Wow.
And so in one of the seasons where we realized that it was important to have the right perspective, we found it very fruitful and honestly to say, hey, we do not pay people to worship the Lord on a Sunday morning. We compensate people to handle the administration and all the practicing and the preparation that then leads to a moment of encountering the Lord.
Look at here.
So,
first off, we're coming live from LA Lounge Studios. AJ, our engineer producer, he's here. He you can't see him, but we're getting ready to put him on the camera also.
Come on, he's soon to be arriving over here.
But look, that quote there is so good. I wish I could really whistle. I can't. I'm not much of a good whistler. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that is such a good thing. We are not paying people to worship. That is not what it's about.
Yeah.
But we're paying for all the other stuff that goes before the worship.
And then I think that leads to a very honest conversation around compensation and what that needs to look like, because and shout out to all those amazing leaders who are not afraid to have those conversations with people, and who make it very open and very natural to have those conversations.
Because I really hate that this is so taboo. I really hate it. It's just like people have things that they need.
They do.
and finances is one of those things.
Yeah, and I feel like this is an interesting thing because the church. And I'm gonna say this
Come on,
about
man.
the church.
It's okay. It's our podcast, so
right?
go ahead. Ain't nobody
I would say
canceling
that
us.
the church has the greatest capacity to love on people. Has the greatest capacity to really truly get into the cracks because of Jesus. You know, so I think that I would want for us to really win in this area too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And again, as we step to this table, like we always do. I personally have. There have been moments where I have won the day,
Yeah.
and there have been moments where I have failed miserably
yes.
at this.
Yes.
And I think that I would say that in relation to some of the areas where I have failed, it was because of fear. You know, and navigating and fear, and not knowing what my value was in Christ, and then allowing other people to define what that is.
Wow.
And that's, and now we can talk about those things, but I think you have to come to the table understanding what your value is in Christ first.
Yeah.
And then at that point, then and praying about what it is that God wants you to ask for.
Yeah.
And this is a tough it's tough.
It's a tough one.
because
It's a
you
tough
gotta
one.
you gotta really fast and pray. And I really learned that in this process in my walk. But again, everybody's different. Some people just know this is what it is. This is what it's gonna be. But there's always, I think, a good conversation that should be had with the right people. You know?
Man, on so many different areas in life.
Yeah.
Since I've known you, you're so big on communication, and I appreciate that about you, because you're like, you always just say, LJ, talk it through, or like let's talk about it, or you're always good at saying, let's have a conversation about that. Let's touch on that. Let's like give our listeners, because I feel that like we're not able to communicate that sometimes because we don't know how to sometimes. Like, how do you communicate? Like, and again, y'all, I've known him for 10 plus years, almost 20 years now, you know, so I really get the real good man that I get to do this with.
I try to be.
But you're so good at communication. Like, give our listeners tips and things of how to like communicate those needs and wants and stuff like that.
Well, I would say that I have bumped my head a billion times, you know, and then I try to learn, you know, and I think that just like everybody who come into this Wisdom Well podcast is seeking knowledge, seeking wisdom.
Yes.
I think that sometimes, and you know, we have a really amazing friend. Her name's Sharon Youngblood. Sharon Youngblood, we want you on
She's gonna
this
be
podcast.
on, yes.
I feel like I think that just through my community, I've just learned a lot about it. Like, you've been there for me to really think through, like, okay, no, this is your value. You are not gonna sacrifice this to do something that's not as valuable. I think that you can. I figure that you can get through things if you communicate.
Yeah.
That people can navigate. Like a perfect example is, I had a student, and the student, I have a student. He's an incredible guy, incredibly talented, and I think just had a scheduling mishap, and wasn't able, or didn't get a chance to communicate that. And so, we were kind of waiting for this student. And I think that just in the context of the environment, it seemed in their mind that it wasn't as important, or that they had kind of caught up and it was a mistake. But there were grave complications for the team because they weren't sure how to really navigate or move forward. And it seemed like a very small thing, but I had to talk to this individual and make sure we understand that, hey, it's really important. And this person is such an amazing person. They took that information, and then most recently we had another rehearsal, and this individual knew that they were going to be late. They actually took the time to really grab a text message and make sure that everybody was informed, and that everybody knew, like, the set list, and knew like some of the notes that we wanted to go through and the agenda for that, and then even wrote at the bottom, say, I really learned from my lesson and I want to be a better leader. And I was like, wow, like that's powerful,
Wow.
you know? So communication really, really is a thing. If you just communicate that you're doing, people can work with you. And obviously you pray about how you communicate, because what I'm learning from my wife as well is that sometimes you need to know what to communicate, because sometimes people, they don't need to know your whole life story.
Yeah.
They just need to know a little bit of information.
They just want
not that you're hiding
yeah,
it, but you're stating, you're getting really straight up facts. It was going right there to it. So yeah, that's it.
So let's talk about one more thing.
Okay.
Because I feel like you and I have talked about this as well. And, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I'm not here to ruffle any feathers or do anything crazy, but let's talk about how leaders can honor, let's say, what do you say, employees? Like, do I call them employees, or how does these pastors and leaders honor the people who are giving their talents and gifts and all of these things to the ministry? Like, and maybe we just create another episode. We may just do another 3-part of this. Because that is also something that needs to be talked about as well. That communication part.
Yeah. Okay. If I could say this, I always have a disclaimer. Disclaimer. No, I think that no disclaimers here. I think that if both sides are trying to honor each other and trying to really serve each other, then we're going to end in a good place.
Okay.
We're going to end in a good place. And I think that's the heart of most leaders. I would like to say that. And I think that I've had the honor of working with and partnering with some great leaders, like really healthy people, really amazing people, you know, and their heart is the kingdom, you know, and so I think that's the key is if you are wanting to really, really grow the kingdom, and you're really, really talking to the Lord and praying to the Lord, then God's going to direct you. Is it going to be easy? No.
Have you had some pretty uncomfortable talks?
I've had some uncomfortable talks with leaders as well,
where you're like,
but because they were so healthy and so great, I think that they they really navigated those conversations great, and I think that or they gave pause so that the Spirit could speak, and there was silence in between. There was time to pray and to really, before they just came back and answered, yes or no.
Got you.
And I can respect that too, because that's also growing me. Like, let's say if I was asking for something, or if I felt like I needed to not do something, or just having strong leaders who may not always agree with you, but they know how to still respect you and to love on you, and that your answer doesn't cancel you from the kingdom. And so they understand the calling that's on your life, and I think that if it ever if it was like super uncomfortable, remained uncomfortable, then I think that was an opportunity to pray and see what were the motivations on both sides, and to grow from there. But I've been able to be around some really amazing leaders that that they just basically really wanted the kingdom, wanted the will of the Lord, and for me, I also want that too. So, and when you get to that, it's like, it doesn't matter if Larry Walker's a part of it or not. I just want to make sure that church is successful, and also too, and vice versa. It's like, it may not be, that person may say, you know what, Larry Walker, if you're here with us, awesome, but if we want Larry Walker to go to the next level, in his faith, not just singing on our platform.
Like how often do you get that, right? Like where the leaders are like, hey, we want what's also best for you. You know what I mean? Like, that is
extremely fortunate.
That's very rare.
Yeah,
that's
I feel extremely fortunate, because I know that in addition that people have their horror stories, and I don't want to sit here and negate the hurtfulness of those horror stories. And because there are people who are at varying stages of serving and loving on people and learning how to love on people. And also too, when you think you have it, or you could be in ministry for 40 plus years and still make mistakes.
Of course,
you know,
of course.
just as if you were in your first year or first month of leadership. And I think that if we just keep the main thing, which is Jesus, within the context of church, then I think that we will be on a good path, you know, and also communicating.
Yeah.
And I think that
I love that you're
and
big
really
on
trying
that.
to get you know, as much of the gray out as necessary, you know, so that people understand what it is, you know, from the beginning. So I think that you'll just be better. And because there have been a lot, and then if we could talk like a financial example. I remember when I had the opportunity and privilege to serve a church plant. And we didn't have a ton of resources. I think that's where I sort of learned about the value of other things too for people, and really trying to figure out, okay, what blesses people. If I know that I only have $100 or $50, or I only have gas money, well, what are the other things that the intangibles that I know that I want to make sure and love on people.
That's right.
And that's maybe honoring their time, you know, and saying, hey, okay, so we're going to come only on this day. We won't have multiple rehearsals during the week, you know, for this, or we'll figure that out. Or how about this? Maybe even asking, you know, hey, what would honor you? What does honor look like? What does honor look like? We have this in our budget. You know, we know that we can do this, and we're working to be better. But what does honor look like around the board for you? You know, and then there are some people who, you know, I think this is the other side of with sometimes musicians having this tough conversations of trying to come. I don't know any like dope musicians that don't want to be a part of something brand new and putting their stamp on something.
Come on, man. Yeah.
So maybe they're not going to be there every single Sunday,
for sure.
But they're like, oh my gosh, for this worship night,
I'm done.
Count me in.
Yeah.
I want to be. And you yourself, you have blessed me so many times where, I mean, you couldn't be there every single week.
Yes,
but you were like, you know what? I want to be with you for this first day.
Yeah.
And just asking, okay, what does honor look like? You know, around that. Maybe it's, you know, you make sure that, and this is just examples. This is not what, you know, everybody's different. But maybe it's like knowing what your favorite drink is. You know, as far as for like Starbucks, your Starbucks order, or maybe you have a favorite food. You know, and it's like, okay, guess what? I'd love to make sure and take care of this meal for you.
And let me say something, man. Like those little things go a long way.
Yeah,
like they go a long way when you're being intentional.
Yeah,
and you're being thoughtful.
Yeah,
and I just believe, despite whoever may be listening, you know, to this episode, whether you're religious or not, or whether you believe in God or not, right? Like the heart of it is like caring and like being thoughtful and being intentional, like that really does go a long way. And
huge.
God knows, like our world really needs people to be a little bit more kind, a little bit more thoughtful, even if you don't have all the resources and all the things to make me a millionaire and all of that.
Exactly.
Like that coffee could go a long way, or hey, I'm just thinking about you, bro, like goes a long way, and that would keep me closer to wanting to be, you know, a part of the movement, you know?
And if you are on the other side of this conversation where your church is extremely successful and well resourced, really, really, really think very prayerfully about investing in your worship team. And because I've always said this, in the worship experience, you know, it's huge if you're a pastor and you see it. You know, that team goes out first for a reason. You know, and you want, if you're you want the best team to not, and I don't just mean the person. You want your team to be feeling amazing. You want to let them know that you are supporting them, and I'm not saying only financially. You invest whatever that means. Invest in their space that they rehearse in. Invest in you know, time with them, coming in and maybe giving them a word of encouragement.
It means a lot, bro.
During the month.
It means a lot.
Just invest in in them, because I'm telling you, the return in the kingdom is massive.
Yeah.
Because seeing a team that is releasing, and we're talking about in the faith space right now, that is just releasing powerful worship over your congregation, over their congregation, their friends and family, and then you personally, as maybe a lead pastor, you get to step into giving the sermon that you've worked very hard for, and that it's like we've been protecting you as your worship team, protecting you to make sure that you can shoot the arrow and it will hit its mark, and then people will come into fellowship with Christ first, and then also maybe into your church. It's like it works that way. So it's like an investment that will always pay for itself in investing in the people. And again, it's not just financial. It's about your time. It's about your loving. And so, and I've been privileged to be in rooms with pastors who they are all about investing in their teams because they get it. And I think that's just the key. It's about those individuals who have that power to really love on the teams and love on their minstrels or their musicians. I think that puts them in a better space, for a more powerful encounter,
Wow.
And so I think that we can't see the musician as an enemy, or someone who's just taking resource. I think we have to see it as an opportunity to strengthen the teams. And there are a million ways. We can talk about this for a very long time. This is a passion of mine, and this is nothing that's sticking in my mind right now. Maybe this musician is not supposed to be with your team forever, so it's an investment of time so that your team can be exposed to the level of professionalism, the level of spirit, the level of joy, for that season, so that your team can learn and be mentored by this individual who carries all the things that you want. Because it's about growing people.
Yes.
And it's about equipping people. Not like it's not about coming and staying forever. It's about coming, be equipped, and then expanding the kingdom.
Right.
Those are a couple of things. So
I love that.
I appreciate this. Thank you. I could talk all day about this.
And we are, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about this. We're going to end this episode, but we're going to bring this back because, again, like, you and I have talked about this. We've had very many conversations with our friends about it.
It's our favorite conversation.
Yeah, man. We're gonna dive deeper into this. Maybe we'll bring back another episode.
Come on, I'm down.
Yeah, and create this dialogue.
And we want to hear from you too.
Yeah,
please, if you wouldn't mind just putting some comments. Be kind in the comments though, but also to just be sharing of wisdom in this space as well. That's what we need.
Thank you guys for joining us for another episode live from the LA Lounge studio.
Come on,
man. AJ back there representing us, keeping us tight, keeping us looking moisturized and all that good stuff.
We're great. So grateful for him.
Yo, I'm LJ.
I'm Larry.
And thanks for joining us. Have a good time. We'll see you soon.
Peace.